Today, we're going to be talking about Charlie Chaplin, the silent genius of cinema. In this video, we'll be taking a look at Chaplin's early life, his rise to fame, and his most famous films. We'll also discuss his legacy and why he is still considered to be one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. Chaplin was born in London in 1889. He was raised in poverty and began performing on the stage at a young age. He eventually made his way to Hollywood, where he became one of the most popular and successful actors and filmmakers of all time. Chaplin was a master of physical comedy. He used his body and facial expressions to create some of the most iconic and memorable characters in film history, including the Tramp, the Kid, and Modern Times. Chaplin was also a gifted filmmaker. He directed, produced, wrote, and starred in many of his own films. His movies were often social commentaries on the human condition. Chaplin's films continue to be enjoyed by audiences all over the world. He is a true legend of cinema, and his work has had a lasting impact on the art form. The early years. Chaplin's early life was difficult. He was born into a poor family, and his father abandoned them when he was young. His mother struggled to make ends meet, and Chaplin often went hungry. Despite the hardships, Chaplin was a bright and cheerful child. He loved to make people laugh, and he often entertained his friends and family with his antics. When Chaplin was 9 years old, his mother died. He was sent to live in an orphanage, where he was subjected to abuse. He eventually ran away from the orphanage and began living on the streets. Chaplin turned to the stage as a way to escape his difficult life. He began performing in music halls and vaudeville shows, and he quickly developed a reputation as a talented comedian. In 1913, Chaplin was invited to perform in the United States. He made his American debut in New York City, and he was an instant success. He soon signed a contract with the Keystone Studios, and he began making films. Chaplin's films were silent, but he didn't need words to communicate with his audience. He used his body and facial expressions to create some of the most iconic and memorable characters in film history. His most famous character was the Tramp, a homeless man who was always getting into trouble. The Tramp was a sympathetic character who appealed to audiences all over the world. Chaplin also starred in other popular films, such as The Kid, Modern Times, and The Great Dictator. His movies were often social commentaries on the human condition, and they explored themes such as poverty, social injustice, and war. Chaplin's films were silent, but he didn't stop making movies when sound came to Hollywood. He made several sound films, including City Lights and Limelight. Chaplin's sound films were not as successful as his silent films, but they are still considered to be classics. He continued to make films until the late 1960s, and he retired from filmmaking in 1972. The Tramp is Chaplin's most famous character. He is a homeless man who is always getting into trouble, but he is also a kind and compassionate soul. The Tramp is a sympathetic character who appeals to audiences all over the world. Chaplin created the Tramp character in 1914, and he played the character in over 70 films. The Tramp is a silent character, but he communicates with his audience through his body language and facial expressions. The Tramp is a complex character. He is both funny and tragic. He is a survivor, but he is also a victim of the social and economic conditions of his time. The Tramp is a timeless character. He continues to be popular with audiences all over the world. He is a reminder that even in the most difficult of times, there is always hope. Modern Times is a 1936 film directed by Charlie Chaplin. It is a satire of the industrial age and the dehumanizing effects of factory work. The film stars Chaplin as a factory worker who is constantly being exploited by his bosses. He is eventually driven insane by the monotony of his work and the constant surveillance he is under. Modern Times is a classic film that still resonates with audiences today. It is a powerful indictment of the dehumanizing effects of capitalism and industrialization. The Great Dictator is a 1940 comedy drama film directed, produced, written, scored by, and starring Charlie Chaplin. The film is a satire of Adolf Hitler and Nazi Germany, and it was released just months before the United States entered World War I. Chaplin plays a Jewish barber who is mistaken for Adenoid Henkel, the dictator of Tomania. The barber is forced to impersonate Henkel, and he soon finds himself caught up in the political turmoil of the world. The Great Dictator was a critical and commercial success, and it is considered to be one of Chaplin's greatest films. The film was nominated for 5 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director, and it won the award for Best Writing Original Screenplay. The Great Dictator is a powerful and timely film that continues to be relevant today. It is a reminder of the dangers of fascism and the importance of fighting for freedom and democracy. Chaplin is considered to be one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. His films are still enjoyed by audiences all over the world, and they continue to influence filmmakers today. Chaplin continued to make films until the late 1960s, and he died in 1977 at the age of 88. His legacy lives on, and his films are still enjoyed by audiences all over the world. He was a true genius of cinema, and his work has had a lasting impact on the art form. Thanks for watching. In this video, we learned about the life and work of Charlie Chaplin, one of the most famous and influential filmmakers of all time. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.